Mutants. Humans possessing incredible powers as a result of genetic mutation. Persecuted by their fellow man for being different. In order to teach mutants to use their powers for the benefit of all, even those who hunted and feared them, Professor Charles Xavier created the X-Men. His ultimate goal? To create a world where humans and mutants can live together in peace. Genosha, a little-known island where mutants are imprisoned, forced into labor by a brutal army and robot sentinels. There is one being whose evil mind has other, far more sinister plans in mind for those captured mutants of Genosha. The monstrous entity known as Apocalypse. X-Men, you must depart for Genosha and free our fellow mutants. Good luck. Hey everybody, welcome to James Plays X-Men Mutant Apocalypse for the Super Nintendo. You see down there, this is a Capcom game released in 1994. 90s era Capcom, you know you're in for a good time. This is the second Marvel Comics game made by Capcom, the first one being an arcade beat-em-up based off The Punisher. And then, right after this game, all future Marvel-related games Capcom would make would be fighting games. This game is sort of a cross between those two genres. It's a side-scrolling action game where you beat up a lot of dudes, and you do so by using special attacks triggered by doing fighting game inputs. We have a team of 5 X-Men to play as, each with their own unique abilities and sometimes unique levels, or unique paths in levels. And we just gotta get through to the end, which should not take long at all. This is a short game. And it's not too difficult if you know what you're doing. But it's very difficult if you don't. Ask Child Me, who had this game. I had a lot of X-Men games. Had X-Men figures, had X-Men trading cards, watched the X-Men cartoon. I liked X-Men. Never read the X-Men comics. I don't really like comics, I like comic-adjacent things. But yeah, this was a difficult game in my childhood. But it's really not that hard if you just kind of put in that work to develop the strats. One thing that makes this game really easy is the password system. After every level, you get a password. So if you're stuck, or you have to turn the game off, or you're getting game overs, whatever, you're not set back very far. So that means you have the opportunities to just keep pushing ahead and learning and getting over that obstacle you're stuck on. And then you get another password. So that makes this really, really accessible. Speaking of accessible, training mode is pretty much useless. It's the first handful of levels, and when you beat them, you're kicked back out to the title screen. Each X-Man gets 1 extra life, and one of the buttons on the controller will automatically do a special move instead of you needing to put the input in yourself. It's really not that helpful. It does make a little bit of sense, and I'll explain that once we get into mission mode. Hear me, my X-Men. Your mission is to invade the island of Genosha and discern the location of the captured mutants. You'll be able to obtain information regarding the Genoshan prison from their computer network, but beware. The way to the central computer is guarded heavily by both Genoshan guards and mutant hunting sentinels. By splitting up, we can more effectively disperse these enemy forces. Wolverine shall gain access into the Sentinel factory, ensuring that all Sentinels being manufactured are destroyed. Cyclops will intercept and destroy the Genoshan army train transport, thereby cutting off their supply lines. Psylocke shall strike at the main base, drawing the Genoshans' fire away from the others. While Psylocke distracts the Genoshans, Gambit will attack the soldiers' harbor base. Finally, Beast shall gain entry to the central computer and extract all information on the whereabouts of the captured mutants. The success of this mission rests with each of you and your incredible mutant powers. Okay, so we got our premise and mission ahead of us now. Genosha, mutants aren't being treated very well. Apocalypse, a mutant himself, appears to be coming in to say, hey, I can treat these mutants even worse. And now the X-Men are stepping in to try and free these mutants and beat up some humans and or robots along the way. In the comics, I don't think there was a connection between Genosha and Sentinels, but I do remember that connection existing in the 90s cartoon. So that could be where that inspiration is coming from for the video game. Correct me if I'm wrong. These are our X-Men that we can choose from. These all come from the blue team. At the time, the X-Men were so numerous that they were split into blue and gold teams. This isn't everybody from the blue team, but it's a good number of them. I think at the time this game came out, the only ones not represented here are Rogue and Jubilee. Again, correct me if I'm wrong, not a comic book guy, just a guy who reads things on Wikipedia. So, our first level of this game is actually 5 levels. We need to complete a mission with each one of these characters before we get our first password. So it's quite a big hurdle to start out with in this game. And I guess that's where training mode might make some sense, because you get a little bit more time to spend getting through the levels, getting familiar with them. Everybody has 3 lives instead of 2. You have a button that'll automatically do a special move to make it easier. But to me, that doesn't really feel like enough of a difference. Like, just play regular. And you get a game over, you start over. You know, it's not a huge time loss to reset your game. So, yeah. Anyway, since we do have to go through all these levels, we'll start here and go clockwise to the end. Let's talk a little bit about Gambit after we talk a little bit about some controls. This is a Super Nintendo game. Super Nintendo controller has a D-pad for movement. And it has 2 shoulder buttons and 4 face buttons, so 6 buttons in total. This game only uses 2, excluding training mode. You have a jump, and then you have an attack button. And then to do your special moves, it's a combination of movement inputs with that attack button. That's it. now we can move on. So this is Gambit, real name Remy LeBeau, born and raised in New Orleans, Louisiana. That's the best accent you're going to get out of me, so I'm going to stop that there. Take this in for a moment. There's not one single part of this outfit that isn't ridiculous, but putting it all together, perfect, 10 out of 10, no notes. Gambit's mutant power is that he can charge inanimate objects with kinetic energy, which will eventually cause them to explode. His particular item of choice is playing cards, which it's dumb, but in a good way. I like it for how dumb it is, but it also does make sense. They're lightweight. You get 52 of them in a box. When you're out, you can throw the box. They're discreet. Nobody's gonna think that you got explosives in there. And yeah. So to do the special moves, as you saw, I'm throwing cards up at guys, and that's just tapping up, and attack. Forward, and attack is a forward shot. Down to forward and attack is a triple spread going forward. Holding up and attack does this neat little forward flip. And then down, crouching, and attack is a little trip with his staff there. And as you saw, we can do a little attack combo. As long as we are hitting somebody, we will go through the motions of a nice little combo. Up there to the left is an X plate. In each one of these starting levels, there will be exactly 3 X plates in each level. Getting all 3 of them is an extra life. So we just jump off to get that one, and we head back on our way. So, our dear Gambit was born in a hospital, as most people are. He was born with black eyes and red pupils, so his parents were like, nope, not gonna deal with that baby. There's another X plate. We just gotta jump over to it. Abandoned at the hospital. Enter the Thieves Guild, who are a thing, and they said, hey, I think that baby might be related to this prophecy we have. Let's steal that baby. I mean, they are a Thieves Guild. They steal things, and people, apparently. So, he was born and raised in Louisiana, no accent this time, as a thief before he crossed paths with the X-Men and eventually became one himself. We're jumping across these girders, and there's little floating bombs along the way, so I'm just trying to use my spread shot to get those. And now here is our 3rd X-plate right up there. You may have noticed some of these girders, they have shorter chains than others. So we want to be on a short one, and that will give us the opportunity to jump off earlier to the next girder here and get the height to reach that. Obligatory elevator section here. That barrel on the right can be broken for some health. It will also have a little explosion effect that will damage all enemies. But while we do this, let me tell you one really weird fact about Gambit. The weirdest one that I was able to find, that I found to be at least kind of interesting as well. Comic books, they have multiverses, alternate realities, since, you know. In other universes, Gambit's powers are significantly stronger. To the point where he has destroyed universes. Those alternate versions of Gambit, not this one. He is fairly under control. But that kinetic energy manipulation that he can do, these other versions, they don't even need to touch the object to charge them up. They can be organic, they can be humans. Multiple realities, multiple versions of Gambit have basically burned their universes with that energy overload. Which, it's weird to think of this guy right here being one of the most powerful entities alive. In fact, this Gambit would have had that potential. Except at some point in his life, he had something removed from his brain to limit his powers. Because, again, that's just things that happen in comic books. We're on our way to our boss, or rather the boss is on our way to us, because it's that attack helicopter. It will have 4 lasers mounted on the underside. They will fire at random, so we just kind of want to be careful. 4 upward shots of our cards will take one out. And then once we destroy all these, we can get inside and beat up the captain, or the pilot. Okay, this is faking me out. There we go. Okay, playing it safe. So there will be some other guys in here. We can ignore them and just... There we are. Gonna cause this helicopter to crash, killing everybody on board. Good job, Gambit. So that takes care of Gambit's level. Next up is Psylocke. Now Gambit, I would say, has the easiest level out of these first 5, and Psylocke, I would say, has the hardest, and I will explain why after our first appearance by a Sentinel who shoots us out of the sky. Sentinels, in short, are robots of varying sizes and models whose purpose is to hunt and capture mutants. Okay. So Gambit's level, everything before that elevator section, I could have run right through and not bothered to beat up a single enemy. I chose to do it because I like to do it. I choose violence every day in my life. Psylocke will be stopped multiple times to fight large groups of enemies before she's allowed to progress. In combination with her being asked to beat up a lot more guys, her special attacks are harder for me to do consistently. At least the ones I'm going to want to do. First up is the Psychic Knife. It's down to forward and attack. Psylocke is a telepath who can manifest her psychic energy into blades that she stabs into the minds of her enemies. Gambit also had a down to forward attack with that spread card throw. It's not the hardest to do, but in the heat of battle, it can be not the easiest to pull off. On top of that, she has the Rising Knee Strike, and that is forward, down, forward attack. So there's a little bit of overlap in inputs. I may try to do one attack and do another one instead. Here you see me doing a sliding kick that's forward, forward attack, and that's being done while I'm trying to do the Rising Knee Strike in the other direction. You can see that I'm going to have some problems here. Then she has up an attack, which is a little flip kick. Down an attack is a sweep. It's slow and can leave you open, but it hits on both sides of Psylocke, so it can come in handy. Then she has one more attack, which I cannot show until we encounter some enemies. Oh look, some enemies. That's our regular jump attack. If we hold down while we do it, we will bounce off of their heads. Now, Psylocke has a pretty high jump to begin with, but if you bounce off of somebody's head, you get a little bit more height, which we're going to need to get our first exploit. It's above this door right here, and we are now in our first locked area where we have to beat everybody up. You see the Psychic Knife can hit a person multiple times and take them out pretty well. The Rising Knee Strike can take out most low-level guys without problems. We'll bounce off of this last enemy to get our exploit and then take him out. Whew, okay. So far, so good. This beam is going to fall when we jump on it. Jump kick this guy, slide kick that guy. So, since we have a lot of stopping points where I have to focus on combat, I am going to take a breather here to talk a little bit more about Psylocke. Real name, Betsy Braddock. Sister to Brian Braddock, who was Captain Britain. I believe Psylocke, or Betsy, is the current Captain Britain in the comics. And I know what you're thinking. Well, Captain Britain must be the British version of Captain America. No, you're stupid. You're so stupid. Guess again. Okay, well, she's a mutant, then her brother must also be a mutant. No, wrong again. So stupid. Well, okay, then clearly, if he's Captain Britain, then he must have had powers bestowed upon him by Merlin the Wizard to protect Britain. Ding, 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 you got it. Third time's the charm. Yeah. Comic books. But this isn't about Brian Braddock's weird stuff. We will have to talk about Psylocke's weird stuff. Betsy Braddock's weird stuff. They're not one and the same. We'll jump off the edge here to get this exploit. What you're seeing here, Betsy Braddock is a white woman. And this is not a white woman. This is a Japanese woman. Her mind got swapped into the body of a Japanese assassin. So on top of being a psychic, that's why she's such an expert fighter. Yeah. They did get better at some point, and that's why she's the current Captain Britain. And I think the woman whose body this is, Quanon, I think she is the current Psylocke. Comic books. Our next little arena here. And I'm going to do a lot of bouncing on my boys here to keep myself in the air to try and limit how much they can get at me. Do a little Psychic Knife there to take out those guys. And then we've got two gunners that throw grenades. Gonna take it nice and careful here. The grenades, thankfully, can damage other enemies. Well, you're not gonna see that here. You're just gonna see me very carefully kick one guy after the other until they're both gone. Alright. Also, I guess we do have to talk about the look here. Purple hair, the weird leggings, the bodysuit. You know, perfect for combat, right? The more naked you are, the stronger you are. That's how it works in comic books. That's why Wolverine always has his dick out, right? The thong. Look, teenage me loved this, okay? Loved all of this, but I'm older now. I like real women, flesh and blood. And this only kind of, sort of does it for me now. Anyway, that said, Capcom games, the animations and everything, the little hair flip and stuff like that, It's all really well done, isn't it? I didn't get a chance to explain these in Gambit's level. These are health pickups. There are large and small. This is a large. Thankfully, so far so good. We didn't actually need it with Psylocke, but our next stopping point, a mid-boss, a guy in a mech suit. And we're going to try to take this slow and goad out this extendo mace. And just chip away at the health here. So he goes high and low. He does this extendo. He can spin it around. And then he can also do, as you just saw, that dash off screen. The flashing yellow means danger. He will ram you and hurt you. You can iframe through it with your attacks if you time it right. But why risk it? Gonna beat him up real soon, and that's gonna cause the ground to collapse underneath us, and there's enemies on this path, so we're just gonna slide kick to knock him over. We get through faster. Gives us enough time to stop and get our final X-plate. Yeah, that's a dick move. There's a lot more opportunities for Psylocke to just fall to her death. You get hit by one of those guys, you're stunned, they could knock you down, you're stunned, you're dead. They could knock you backwards, where the ground's already gone, you're dead. So much death. Speaking of, here's another health pickup, and then 2 knife guys. These are on the higher end of the danger scale because their knives can hurt real bad if you let them. Get that health pickup. Obligatory elevator section? No! It's the return of that sentinel from the beginning. Let's hang back and see what he does. Okay, so he throws grenades that spread a flame on the ground. You saw he moved backwards. He shoots lasers out of his eyes, and then there's one other attack, which I may be able to safely goad out of him. You will see. It's a punch. Now, being further away from where he broke through, you can't reach as effectively. But if we just take it slow, couple of little kicks and punches, make sure we avoid all the attacks. There we go. So we didn't see the punch, which is fine. I got a pattern I was happy with. And no damage. Very nice. Very cool and good. Next up is the leader of the X-Men Blue Team. Leader of the X-Men in general, a lot of the time, Cyclops. Shablammy! Cyclops' famous catchphrase, Shablammy. Always saying that catchphrase, that's Cyclops. Real name Scott Summers. He is one of the original X-Men there from the very first issue, alongside Jean Grey, Iceman, Angel, and Beast. We'll be seeing Beast soon enough. He's frequently the leader of the X-Men on field missions, or co-leader of the X-Men, as the case may be here. Remember I said at this point in time, we had gold and blue teams. Cyclops is the leader of the blue team, and Storm is the leader of the gold. His mutant power? I know what you're thinking. He's shooting laser beams out of his eyes. You're wrong, you stupid, stupid person. Look carefully, okay? Those aren't lasers. They are beams of pure concussive energy. So stupid that you didn't know that. So yeah, they don't generate heat, they don't burn, cut, whatever. They punch. Punch beams. Or getting run over by a truck beams. Depending on the intensity of the blast there. And I know what you're thinking now. You know, okay, fine, semantics. He's shooting concussive energy out of his eyes. Again, you are being so stupid. You're not looking carefully enough. Look. Clearly, what's happening is portals are opening up in front of his eyes, and those portals connect to a dimension of endless, pure, concussive force. And that's coming out of those portals. So embarrassing that you didn't know that, really. That may have been retconned by now, but there was a point in time where that was the explanation for his powers. So, to do this, we're doing down to forward and attack. You can also do it in the air, which is nice. And you can do a crouching version by going forward to down. And no matter which way you blast them, the optic blast is very strong and takes out most enemies in a single hit. He also has a roundhouse kick, holding up and attack. Will knock enemies away. And then he's got a little slide kick, forward and attack, kind of like Psylocke, except his covers less distance, and it hits multiple times. Got ourselves a little ambush here, one in the front, two in the back, reverse shocker, if you will. And we'll just try to get them all to one side, instead of letting them, you know, trap us in the middle. Okay. Got ourselves a grenade guy, and we don't like that, so we're just gonna shoot him. We can break the rocks with our punches and kicks, or we can do optic blasts, and they will randomly drop health. You saw there, we got a big one and a small one. Didn't need either of them. And that's scary. We've now set a precedent where I'm doing a hitless run. I'm going to tell you right now, no. Do not expect this entire game to be hitless. At the very least, I'll try to do the remainder of these introductory levels like that. But even that, I'm really feeling the pressure, so. We've got our first X plate, top right there. We get to the edge of this platform, and we just jump for it. Kick that guy on the way down. So Cyclops has trouble controlling his powers. Anytime his eyes are open, he be blasting. I know what that's like. So he has this visor, and he also has casual sunglasses as well, both made out of a ruby quartz. And this suppresses his powers for some reason. I think it like tricks his brain into thinking he's already firing his optic blast because they're both red or something. I don't know. Comic books, right? And the reason he can't control his powers, it's been explained as either being physical brain damage or something psychological. When he was a kid, he was in a plane with his brother and parents. The plane was attacked and crashed. He took a real good bump on the noggin at that point in time, so that was an explanation for a while. But it's also been suggested that it's psychological, maybe linked to like a survivor's guilt or something else that's going on in his life. But yeah. We're coming up to a sort of mid-boss. It's these guys on hover bikes. You'll see them approach in the background at different heights. And yeah, so if you see them going from left to right in the background, they'll be coming in on the right side of the screen. Depending on the height where they are, will determine where they show up height-wise in the front. You just time an optic blast if you can, or you whiff, and then you just get out of the way. They're supposed to ram you. I think maybe they might fire machine guns. I don't know. I try not to give them the chance to do either. We're going to have a point just like in Psylocke's level, where we're stopped and we have to defeat all the enemies to progress. And we're just gonna try and safely jump kick our way to victory here, because it's scary. It's real scary. There we go. This bridge, we're gonna have another hover bike show up. One hit takes it out, causes the bridge to collapse. Get over to the left side because there's an X plate on the way down. Now we are in the water, where we will encounter the sea people. We just punch and kick our way through. There we go. You may think that I've talked a lot about Cyclops and covered some weird things already, but I'd say he's had a lot of weird stuff. He's had many years to develop lots of weird things. I don't have time to talk about all of it. If I were to pick what I think is really weird, it's the habit of his kids coming from alternate futures back in time. I think this has happened 3, maybe 4 times. 3 of them biological, 1 like an adopted kid. I don't know why. Why him? Why so many? But yeah, just every now and then somebody comes back in time and it turns out that they're one of his kids from a potential future. Just why? To me that's weirder than the time his dead ex-wife came back and psychically impersonated his current girlfriend and had like mental sex with him, which is a thing that happened. Yeah. Another stopping point here. Oh, you guys got kicks too. No, thank you. No, thank you. That's scary. Okay. We're gonna have one more stopping point here with another group of ruffians. And let's just try to... Okay. Alright. We are now approaching the boss. This is the boss, the train itself. We are not going to advance too far here because we will start the boss fight. But if we stay here and we jump on the edge of the top of this train, camera pans up and we get our last X-plate there. We jump off from there. So, let me explain what's going to happen. There's an engine in the center of the train. You can't see it yet. We need to destroy that. There's 2 halves, a left and a right. And you beat it up like a Street Fighter bonus level. Trying to stop you are going to be these little portholes, dropping bombs, and I think missiles come out. Up here, there's going to be guns, turrets that fire bullets at you. There's going to be another guy on a hover bike firing a machine gun. I'm telling you all this now because you're not going to see any of it. And there we go. The optic blast hits both the left and right sides at the same time. We do the crouching one to avoid any of the little bombs. We never have to go up top. The easiest boss out of everyone, I think. Even easier than Gambit's, as long as you're able to consistently pull those optic blasts off. Alright, so 3 out of 5 levels done hit list. It's getting more stressful, but I think I hope we're okay to continue with these shenanigans. Next up is Wolverine. There he is, the biggest little man in comic books, ladies and gentlemen, and non-binary folks, the Wolverine. He's the best there is at what he does, and what he does is get really mad and destroy things with his big old metal claws. These tanks will randomly have health in them, just like the rocks in Cyclops' level. Not that you'd really need health, it's the very start of the level. Maybe that guy in tan gives you a lot of trouble, I don't know. Wolverine's real name, James Howlett. But for a very long time, including the period this game was released in, he went by Logan. Just Logan. First name, last name. It's kind of like Cher, or Beyonce, or Shakira. In fact, Wolverine, exactly like them. Beautiful singing voice. But we will get more into his name shenanigans a little bit later on, because that's going to be the focal point of the weird stuff. Instead, let's talk about his special moves. Forward attack is this little dash forward. It's similar to Psylocke's Psychic Knife, where it hits multiple times, covers some decent ground, but a lot easier to pull off with consistency, making Wolverine very good for beating people up. Very good choice to try to run the whole game with, just because of that. He also has this little rising claw strike thing, which is done by doing forward, down, forward. Holding up an attack is this swipe, which knocks enemies back. And then, when in the air, holding down an attack does this little dive and dash. He's got one other move that's going to have to wait. So let's go ahead and beat some guys up for a little bit, okay? Very effective killer. So yeah, you might be wondering why Wolverine was known as Logan for a long time when that has nothing to do with his real name. Everything about Wolverine is weird. Okay? He's the edgelord of the comic books, and all the writers want to try to do something that they think is cool with him, add on to his backstory, connect him to all the other happenings in the world. Remember Gambit? From, the beginning of all this? He went to steal journals that were at a facility where Wolverine was being experimented on at the time. That experiment was to bond adamantium metal to his bones, which he could endure because of his mutant power. He has a healing factor which allows him to recover from even the most egregious of damage, up to and including death sometimes. So he has metal bonded to his bones, and you look at those claws there. For a long time, it was believed those were added during that experiment, but it turns out he has claws of bone, which is another part of his mutant ability. So, when he was a wee boy, over 100 years ago, by the way, that's another effect of the healing factor, incredibly long life, he lived on a farm with his parents and a groundskeeper named Thomas Logan. Thomas Logan was an abusive drunk. Long story short, he killed Wolverine's dad. This caused Wolverine's mutant powers to manifest, bone claws come out, and he kills Thomas Logan. It would eventually come out that Thomas Logan was Wolverine's biological father. But he didn't know that for quite some time. He especially didn't know that when he went on the run and assumed the name Logan, which he maintained for a very long time and never figured out if it was a first or last name, just Logan. Yeah, and it gets weirder. But now that other special move that I couldn't show you before, with his claws, he can cling to walls and climb up and down them. So we get up here, There's the X-plate over on the far right. We can't reach it with a normal jump. Instead, we get up here and we do that dive, which gets us a little bit more distance. So that gun laser turret thing. And we use our claw climbing abilities to make our way up here. So yeah, there's all kinds of weird things that I could talk about when it comes to Wolverine and his relationships. He's a total weeaboo. Spent a lot of time in Japan. But the weirdest thing I will tell you about after we slash up this mid-boss, another mech suit guy. You can dash through him and then be behind him safely. He'll take some steps back and then we just get in front and then boom, again. Alright, so, the shenanigans with his name. Do you want to know how it was first revealed in the comics that he went by Logan? The first time any reader heard the name Logan, it came out of the mouth of a leprechaun. So you deal with that while I fall and get another X-plate down here and claw our way back up. Now, over here on the right, you may not know it right away, but as we climb up it and it starts to separate and fall and we see another X-plate down there, we get up here, see part of a rib cage and a higher part. This is all a robotic spine of a very big sentinel. So now, how do we get that last X-plate? Well, we fall down and then turn around and get the dive and dash to get back over here to safety. There's so many weird things that I could talk about when it comes to Wolverine. The origins of his mask and all of that. His relationships throughout the years. The incredible number of illegitimate children he's had, who were then all brought together to try and kill Wolverine, and he was forced to kill them. And then he learned they were his kids. So much stuff. Anyway, here's a boss. A Sentinel, a big one in the making. And we're just gonna do a real simple method of doing some jumping slashes and dives and dashes to avoid the mooks that try to join the fight, and we'll just let the Sentinel use their lasers to take them down, and there we go. Real simple fight. Another level done without taking damage. You love to see it. I don't love to see it because the pressure is really on now to at least finish this section off damageless. And last but not least, here is the beast. I didn't mean for that to rhyme. It just happens every now and then. Dr. Henry McCoy, as I said, in Cyclops' level, he's one of the first X-Men, but he didn't always look like this. He started off as a guy who just had big hands and feet. Really didn't take much to become an X-Man back in the day. So he was strong, but he wasn't a Muppet back then. He became this later on. So you could technically say this is part of his mutant power, and so is this. His big hands and feet, and his big muscles and everything. He's very agile. I don't think he has magic sticky feet like you might be assuming from this. I think it's more that he just has really agile toes and feet like a monkey. And it's like he's gripping stuff with his toes, allowing him to walk like this. Special moves, forward attack does this headbutt, but you will bounce off of enemies And that leaves you wide open for a follow-up attack, which is not great. It's strong, but it's not great. He also has this, holding up an attack, does this real funny-looking flying kick. And then, as I just showed you, the hanging upside down from ceilings. It works just the same as Wolverine's claws in the wall. Just hold in the direction of the thing you want to stick to. Except with Wolverine, it was walls. With Beast, it's ceilings. He has one other move that I will show you soon, but we have a decision to make. We can stay above ground, or we can go down here. It's not a big decision, it's the same enemies both ways, but down here I can hang from the ceiling and bop people on the noggin, which is fun for me. So, why is Beast a big furry monster? Well, as I said, Dr. Henry McCoy, he dabbles in genetics, and he discovered a serum or something, a hormone that could accelerate or induce mutation in people. And he used it on himself to give himself a disguise, which gave him gray fur, but then he did not take the antidote in time, and that left him looking that way. For a long time, he wore a mask and gloves and I guess like a big trench coat or something to disguise the fact that he looked like a monster now. Eventually he would turn blue. Eventually he would get a little bit more beast looking like he does now. And I'd say that's pretty weird. He was just a guy that had big hands and feet, and now he's Cookie Monster. You know, that's pretty weird, isn't it? Come over here, and this spot right above us, this is where you would have to drop down if you went above. Got another ceiling here that we can hang from, and I'm going to show you his last special move. Just like Psylocke, he can bounce off of people's heads, but he uses his ass to do it. And I'm just gonna ass drop on everybody and cling back to the ceiling just to try and stay out of danger. And that's the last guy, so we'll just give him 2 headbutts and not worry about the recoil. Come over here, and we're going to hang up here. And as you see, there are mines flowing through the water now because we are at a mid-boss. Another mech suit guy. We're just going to hang on here, and we're going to punch this guy to death, avoiding the dashes and avoiding this plasma cannon. I will eventually show you that this arena goes up pretty high. Unnecessarily high. See how high this goes? There's no reason to try to take the fight up here. It just makes things harder for you. Over here is our first X-Plate, which you cannot reveal until that fight's over. There is ground beneath us, but if we go down that way, we're committed to going that way first. We stay up here, you see there's platforms on a track, and we want to just hang back on one side and punch these floating mines in a way that the explosion doesn't hurt us. Come up all the way over here to get our next X-Plate. Now we can just safely fall down, and you just saw a little glimpse of the last X-Plate. You pull on this to reveal it. You don't need to reveal it. You can touch it through the water just fine. And there's a big guy that we're not going to mess with. We'll just get out of here. Punch those safely. And then punch that safely. Over here, This is where the upper path ends. You can see the platforms there. We could have kept going that way and ended up here. For some reason, they gave Beast these alternate paths, and neither of them are very long. But maybe they just wanted to introduce you to the concept. Break down this door, and here is the boss. A mini sentinel. We're gonna get up on his head towards the back. As you see, he fires lasers upward. Oh no, another one! It shoots the little lasso thing out, shoots the lasers upward. If you're towards the front, that can hit you, and we don't want it to hit us. There we go. 6 ass drops for each of them. And we've won all 5 levels without taking damage, and getting everybody a 1-up. So this is our password for that. It does save how many lives you have. It doesn't care that I did it hitless. That was just for me, and for you. That was a little treat for you. So, if you ever wanted to play this game yourself and start off after that really long opening segment, and you wanted everybody to have 3 lives, here you go. That will do it for this video. I know we only did 1 level, but don't worry, I'll do more levels per video in the future, okay? So, hopefully I got all of the brunt of the talking, the majority of the comic lessons out of the way. We'll have to talk a little bit more about this and that. But at least the worst is now behind us for a lot of things. So I'll see you next time. Love ya. Mwah. Bye-bye.